So when Dr. Saylor is not saving the lives of children, he's also working as an advocate at McGill. He's been the director of the Indigenous Health Curriculum here since 2014. And he's really working hard with all of the consultants, the elders, and our Indigenous partners to transform the health education here for all people, not just the Indigenous students. So please join me to welcome Dr. Kent Saylor.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Dick, for that introduction. And with that list, that's why I'm so tired, I guess. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight and for supporting our program. And I want to say a special thank you for the elders and Indigenous partners who have braved the traffic and the construction to join us tonight. Thank you to the principal, provost who could not make it here tonight, and to the dean for supporting our program. I don't have that much time, so I'm just going to really tell you a quick story. You got a bit of a preview of it already. So, 1989. I was going to make a joke and say, oh, that's the year I was born, but okay, maybe that wouldn't have gone. So what was that? That was the year I applied into medicine. And I wanted to share a little bit of my experiences with you about that process for me, just as an example. I had gone to the US and received my bachelor's degree from a school there. And well, before and while I was there, it really strengthened my dream to become a physician. I decided to apply to many medical schools, both in Canada and in the US. And I want to tell you about my experiences at two schools in particular. So, school number one. I sent my application in early on and anxiously awaited my response. Didn't take very long. I soon received a letter stating, "Dear applicant, as documented clearly in our application guidelines, we will not consider any applicants who do not meet our basic application requirements. As you do not meet our basic requirements, your file will be closed." It was something like that. I can't remember if there was a thank you, good luck to you for your future in the end, but frankly, it wouldn't have made a big difference. School number two. I sent my application around the same time as the first one. Eventually, I received a letter stating, "Dear Mr. Saylor, we've received your application and are pleased to offer you an interview." So I was like, great, finally, I have a positive response. And I eventually made my way to the school for interviews. And I did my interviews. They went quite well. And after my interviews, I was greeted by an Indigenous faculty member who came to find me at the school. She was not in medicine, but she worked in recruitment for all Indigenous graduate students. She spoke to me, she showed me around the campus, and she finally asked me, "What can we do to get you to come here?" And I was completely floored. I was completely floored. I was shocked, really. I said, "Really?" Later on, the school actually invited me back for a recruiting trip. A few months later, they paid my way. They introduced me to current Indigenous medical students at the school, and they really made me feel like I mattered to them. So, any bets on school number one? School number one was McGill University. School number two. School number two, where I eventually went to school and was accepted, was Stanford University. So, I'm not telling you this to brag that I went to Stanford University. I really wanted to highlight the contrast, the huge contrast that I felt. Stanford was welcoming. It was inviting. They recognized my strengths. And they recognized that grades are not everything and do not necessarily make a good physician. They saw something that actually I didn't even see at the time. They recognized that I had an Indigenous knowledge that I didn't even know I possessed, and they valued that knowledge. It was hard going through Stanford, but I made it through and I got my degree. And throughout my studies, I was supported by an Indigenous community at Stanford, Indigenous students in medicine, and really just an overall understanding that Indigenous knowledge was important both with my peers and with staff members at the school. It wasn't perfect, nothing is perfect, but I felt valued there. And so my vision for the Indigenous Health Professions program is really to help McGill to transform and get closer to that ideology. We have to see beyond just the grades, and we have to value our Indigenous students. We really have to change our whole mindset. We have to transform from thinking that it's a privilege for a student to come here to it's a privilege for us to accept Indigenous students and to train them here. And this transformation has to permeate every aspect of student life. Right from that receptionist who gets that first phone call from an Indigenous student, to our admissions committees, our admission officers, through to all the staff and students who work at the school. We want Indigenous students to feel welcome and supported throughout their entire time here. We also have heard from many people here, many of our Indigenous partners, that we need to educate, not just those students, but we need to educate other health professionals here and other staff members here about our ways and our knowledge. So we have really many goals, many ways to achieve this, but these are the two basic goals that we are working with. We want to train more Indigenous health professionals, and we want to educate all health professionals about our realities, about our health challenges, our strengths, and our ways of knowledge. We have a long road before us. We all know that, but I'm thrilled that we're all here to support this program tonight, and really, I'm just so happy to see everyone here. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to those of you who have already committed to work with us. Thank you to those who are considering lending your support. And I really hope you have a great evening. Thank you very much.